The room buzzed with unspoken tension, the kind that makes the air thick and every breath feel heavier. Two women stood across from each other, powerful, unyielding, and breathtakingly intense. The dim lights reflected against the red and blue neon glow behind them, painting the space in shades of conflict and desire. One leaned against the bar counter, her lips curved into a sharp smirk, eyes gleaming with challenge. The other stood tall, her voice steady but laced with emotion, as if every word she spoke carried the weight of years unspoken. They had been rivals for as long as anyone could remember, competing in business, in life, maybe even in love. But tonight, something was different. Beneath the surface of anger, something dangerous was simmering, something neither could deny anymore. Every glare carried the memory of stolen glances, every insult disguised the ache of wanting what shouldn't be wanted. Their hearts raced, but not from fury alone. She stepped closer, invading that invisible line that had always separated them, that line built from pride and fear. For a moment, time slowed. The red neon reflected in her eyes like burning fire, while the blue shimmered like a storm barely contained. Words failed them both, and in the silence, the truth pulsed louder than any argument, that this rivalry was never just about hate. It was the only way they knew how to touch without touching, to feel without falling apart. And as they stood inches apart, breathing the same electric air, the question that neither dared ask lingered between them: what happens when hate feels too much like love? The music was loud enough to drown out every thought, every boundary that once stood tall between them. Under the swirl of neon lights, they were no longer rivals, just two souls caught in the rhythm of the night. The air smelled of perfume, alcohol, and something unspoken. She laughed, tossing her hair back, that same confident smirk dancing on her lips, the one that used to irritate the other beyond reason. But tonight, it didn't sting, it sparked. Their drinks clinked, fingers brushed, and for the first time, the tension between them didn't feel like war, it felt like a secret waiting to be discovered. The crowd faded, the chaos blurred, and all that remained was the pulse of the bass echoing their hearts. She leaned closer to whisper something, her voice soft but teasing, and it sent a shiver straight through her. Maybe it was the alcohol, or maybe it was the truth they'd both been running from, but everything suddenly felt too close, too real. They danced like the world was ending, wild, reckless, and free, laughing at how the universe had tricked them into this moment. One song melted into another, one glance too long became a silent confession. Somewhere between the last sip and the last beat, her hand found the other's, and neither pulled away. The rivalry that once burned like fire now simmered into something tender, something terrifyingly beautiful. As the lights dimmed and the night deepened, they weren't enemies anymore. They were two hearts on the edge of something dangerous, something unforgettable. And even though they'd blame it on the drinks tomorrow, deep down, they both knew this night had changed everything. The night pulsed with electric energy, neon pink and purple lights painting their faces like a secret confession neither of them dared to speak aloud. The music faded into a distant hum, leaving only the sound of their breathing, shallow and unsure. She looked at her, really looked, and for a heartbeat, time forgot how to move. There was fear in her eyes, but also something softer, something that felt like home. Fingers brushed against trembling lips, a silent question hanging in the glow between them. And before logic could step in, before the world could remind them who they were supposed to be, their lips met, desperate, trembling, alive. It wasn't a kiss born out of impulse, it was everything they had tried to bury breaking free at once. The taste of confusion, of years spent pretending, mixed with the sweetness of surrender. Her heart raced like it was trying to catch up to what her soul already knew, that this moment, this kiss, wasn't a mistake. It was clarity wrapped in chaos. The world outside the neon blur didn't exist anymore. There was no past, no future, just two souls finding courage in each other's arms. When they finally pulled away, breathless and wide-eyed, silence stretched between them, not awkward, but sacred. The air shimmered with the weight of what had just happened. They didn't need words, their eyes said everything. The kiss wasn't about lust or rebellion. It was about truth, raw, terrifying, and beautiful. For the first time, both of them felt seen, entirely and unapologetically. And though the world might never understand, under those glowing lights, they did. They finally did. The golden rays of dawn spill through the curtains, painting the room in a soft, forgiving light. But forgiveness is the last thing on their minds. Aisha stirs first, her head throbbing, her memories blurred, her heart racing. The unfamiliar warmth beside her makes her freeze. She turns slowly, and there she is, Zara, sleeping peacefully, wrapped in the same white sheet. For a moment, it feels unreal. A dream, maybe. But then Aisha's eyes land on the nightstand, two wedding rings glinting in the sunlight, a crumpled marriage certificate lying beside an empty champagne bottle. Her breath catches. Her trembling hand reaches for the paper, the faint scent of roses and alcohol still lingering in the air. Zara wakes up, blinking against the light, confusion etching across her face as her eyes meet Aisha's. Time halts. Between them stretches a silence thick enough to drown in, filled with questions neither of them can voice. The memories rush back in broken flashes, laughter, music, tears, promises whispered too loudly. The realization crashes over them, last night, they didn't just cross a line, they destroyed it. Aisha's voice finally breaks the silence, soft but shaking, did we really? Zara doesn't answer, she just looks down at the ring now circling her finger, heavy with meaning. The air between them hums with guilt, confusion, and something unspoken, something terrifyingly close to love. Outside, the world moves on, birds sing, sunlight warms, but inside that room, everything has changed. They both know it. What was supposed to be a night of escape has become a lifetime of questions. And as they sit there, wrapped in silence and sheets, the morning light feels both beautiful and cruel. The morning light slipped through the curtains, painting their faces with a quiet truth neither could ignore. Two women stood inches apart, hearts racing, wedding rings glinting like secrets under sunlight. The air was heavy, trembling with a mix of disbelief and something unspoken. What began as a night blurred by laughter, rivalry, and too many drinks had turned into a vow neither remembered taking, yet both could feel the weight of it. She looked at her, the woman she once swore to hate, the one who challenged her every step, who made her furious, alive, and now, inexplicably hers. A nervous laugh escaped, but it faded into silence as their eyes met. There was no trace of anger anymore, only confusion, and curiosity that felt dangerously close to longing. "This can't be real," one whispered, her voice breaking, while the other just smiled faintly, fingers brushing the gold band on her hand as if trying to remember when fate decided to interfere. The world outside went on, cars, noise, life, but inside that room, time stood still. For the first time, the rivalry didn't matter. The lines between hate and love, between mistake and destiny, blurred like watercolor in rain. Maybe it wasn't the wine. Maybe it was something deeper, something meant to be. Maybe, just maybe, this was how love sometimes begins, not with plans, but with chaos, and a kiss waiting in hesitation.